Two of them.
And we do bounce between multiple ones. I want to know from any of y'all,
yeah.
which area do you fall in?
I vaguely remember because I was.
Who else?
Because I'm not the helicopter parent that want my kid to do exactly what I say and follow behind him and stand over. I'm not doing that because I know he have his own mind. He have his own way. He might do something differently and come out with the same result. And I try to build that confidence up in him. So I'm more of that stand back and lead him to the directions of what I need for him to do. And I let him see if he actually analyzed stuff. And
so free, you in the free range
space.
Right into it. So it sounds like Frank talking about free range. Who else?
Yeah. So I'm more of the authoritative and the free range, like in between those two.
Okay. But okay, so hold on. So when we talk about authoritative, this is the strict rules with lots of room for maneuvering amid boundaries and demanding and responsive. Explain that. Like, give me an example of like if I'm your kid and I mess up, what's gonna happen?
So, for example, when me and my kids have, I'm talking. Okay, but can I?
We'll give you a second, Christine. Who else? Oh, go ahead. Who else?
Well, for me, my son get in trouble. Oh, you go ahead.
I'm sort of like that too in between those two. My authoritative is one of those things where I'll take something for a longer period of time, or I won't let them do it anymore, or something like that. I'm a little bit more authoritative when it comes. Okay, you're not gonna be able to go here if you don't do this. You're not gonna be able to do this if you don't do that.
Right.
So it was always you gotta give me something in order to get something. And I was a stickler on that because, again, I was a single mother, and I had to have order and control. So a lot of my authoritativeness came from being in order, me knowing where you at all times, so I ain't got to worry. So I put those type of things as rules, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Do you see? Do y'all? And Christine, I'm gonna let you go. Do y'all see how exactly what she described with being a single mother? I had to maintain order and control, right? And if you do this for a child's entire upbringing, all you're doing is grooming them, especially our people, to be locked up or institutionalized. You grooming them for that. You got to think about it. It wasn't about, and I want y'all to really take this the fuck in. She didn't say anything about the idea of how she's parenting was to empower her child or give her child the skills. It was about order and control. Order and how our prisons ran. Through order and fucking control. Get in line. Time to eat.
Then I learned to do the free giving. To see what they wanted and do all of that.
Right.
But at first, it was order and control.
Right. But the idea was she equated that to, as I was in that single mother space, I parented based on order and control. All you doing is grooming that child to be in environments or to feel good or thrive in environments that operate that way. The world doesn't operate like that on all everyday life areas. It does not. It requires you to have a sense of self-confidence, to feel loved, trusted, respected, social skills, things that don't have shit to do with following your mama rules. Christine, go ahead.
So I struggle with the authoritative one, but I'm going to tell you what I do. So me and my kids have family meetings, and let's just say they get one new rule a week. So my son likes to be on the game. His rule would be you either get 2 hours a day or you get 15 hours a week.
Okay.
Pick one. So I allow them to have choices, but I don't allow them to have too many choices. But
right.
You get this or this. So he has to sit there and think about 15 hours or 2. He was like, Mom, we can't do 3 hours a day because with 15 hours, he get an extra hour. No, with 2 hours a day, he will get an extra hour. But with his 15 hours, he lose that hour.
Right.
So he ended up choosing the 15 hours. Now, if I catch you on it more than 15 hours after, his consequence is it has to match the behavior. Either I'm taking your phone for an hour or I'm taking your computer for 2 hours. Which one is it? So he like, well, can I just clean the dishes? It has to match what you got going on. So that's how... And every kid has a different rule because every kid It's
Yes.
different. And then I also get a rule. What do you want mommy to do? Spend more time, stay off your phone.
Right.
If you're on your phone, mommy, we have this little lock box where
Right.
I can put my phone inside, set
Right.
the timer, lock my phone in there.
I love it. I love it. And any of y'all, I recommend that you take on some of these different ways of disciplining as we share, because it's important. It is important to get away from just parenting off of whatever mood you in, because that's what a lot of us are doing, if we're honest. Whatever my mood is, and some of y'all probably noticed this growing up, or you notice yourself doing it. If my mom was in a good mood, she'll ask us, y'all want something from the stove? What y'all finna? I got my taxes. Y'all for shit. As if like I have to like be somebody I'm not because he or she is in some sort of negative space. It's not healthy. And it teaches your child that this is some sort of appropriate behavior. The world does not act different because you mad today. Like because you woke up and your bills took all your money, the world don't stop. Stores still open, people still driving, shit going on with traffic, stuff going on with politics, the internet still going. Like your mood does not dictate the behavior of the people out in the world. So when you raise your children to believe that when your mood is bad or good, then everybody else has to shift based on that, they go out into the world and they in for a rude awakening. They think shit revolve around them, so they go to school with an attitude. Let's say I'm tired. I'm one of y'all's son. I go to school. I'm tired. I've been on the game all night. I'm aggravated for whatever reason. Now I go in the classroom and I believe the teacher and all the other children are supposed to respond based on my mood or operate based on how I feel. That's not real life.
Yeah, that is definitely true. And what I ain't gonna. This is just my interpretation of things. I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's wrong, but I see parents from day to day. Kids I know, kids I don't know, parents that I know have kids, and how they parent their kids. Our kids make us be parents, and what I mean by that is our kids don't exist until they do something. They do. We know they do. But once they do something, that's when we be parents.
That's what I was saying earlier, Frank. A lot of us don't realize most of our parenting is highlighting the negative. If they in the room sitting down and nothing's going on, you really don't interact with them. But if you get up and you look around and stuff is messed up or something is out of place or they doing something they don't got no business, now you're parenting. So your sole parenting style is based on shit that's wrong. It's highlighting what's wrong. And the idea is, if you understand positive parenting, it's exactly the opposite. This is why a lot of kids, and I talk about this all the time, a lot of children reach that 12 up to like 15, 16 age, and they just retreat into their inner. They be in their room, don't really talk to you that much, don't really come out. You ask them, do they want to go somewhere with you? They don't really want to go. Like, they be in there with them fucking hoodies on in the summertime, just sitting back looking crazy. Like, you don't get much engagement. This is what the fuck is going on. Hot as fuck. You walk around with a hoodie on, headphones in, don't really want to exchange dialogue, don't want to say too much. We trying to be nice because we don't realize we need to change how we operate. Them kids don't want to hear shit from your ass. No more.
What I do is, well, what I've always done is I'm an active parent, and I'm not that lazy parent. I'm there for my son, especially being a single parent it's much harder for me. But I make sacrifices in it, and I haven't even talked to my son about the sacrifices that I make for him to even try to get him to participate in the things that he want to do. As far as like him just operating just in general, just in life, like it's certain rules to yourself that you have to have. I'm not gonna tell you rules and not show you. I'm not gonna teach you stuff and not require you to use that. Like whenever he leaves the house, I let him know, like, hey man, it's you going over your friend's house and I want you to have fun, but remember, you have your rules. You got my rules, but you have your rules too. My rules is the house rules. That means you need to be back at a certain time. You go anywhere outside of where you're going, you got a phone, you need to text and say, hey, Dad, I'm going over here. I'm fine with that, as long as you stay in the confinements of my rules. I really don't matter, it really don't matter what you do, but I know you're going to do stupid stuff. You're a boy. I understand that. But I want you to be safe when you do that. Those are your rules. If you have rules for yourself, I ain't really too worried. It's to make me more comfortable with you.
That's the discipline. You're teaching him to have self-discipline. And it's very important, especially for black boys. When we talk about the space that I'm saying, like when they reach 12 to 15, the idea is up until then, have you ever allowed them to lead the conversation? Or is it all about you parenting them? And this is where we go wrong. We don't allow space where we're off our devices and we're in communication. And this is how you get to know your child. What do they want to talk about? What do they feel like is an important or pressing issue? It's always us to them. And when it's never the other way around, when they reach that age where their mind is telling them to have a voice, but they're in an environment where they don't necessarily have a voice, because most of what's happening in the household, like Adrian said, it's about your order and control, your way of doing things. I put this hoodie on, I put my headphones in, I be on my laptop or on the game, minding my own business. I stay out the way because everybody know everything he or she want as the mama or the daddy is all about them. Half the conversations I probably want to bring up, they don't want to hear that shit. They tired from work. They mad about this. They stressed about this. They worried about this. They going to bring up what they sacrificed with this. So you just retreat into your own little teenage world, and you feel like, I just got to get through these years. And that's what a lot of children are doing. They're just trying to get through those years so they can get to the point where they can get the fuck from up under you. And a lot of us went through that, where we couldn't wait, even if we never said it. We thought we couldn't wait until we reached 18, 19, where we can then start to use the voice that we were gaining naturally. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? I want to know that y'all understand what I'm describing.
Yes, my nephew is like that. I'm a teen auntie, boy auntie, and he's like that. I noticed that. So like when I'm around and stuff, I just try to push myself on him and kind of like see where he's at. At first, he was kind of like standoffish, like she's being weird. But the more that I did that, the more I think he started to feel more comfortable to sit here and open up more. But he's like that with the hoodies on, want to play the game all the time. I'd be like, oh, let's go outside. Let's go do something on a trip or something, because I'm in Vegas. So I try to interact with him and try to make sure that he's doing things so that he won't be like that and so closed off.
You got to get in there. Yes, Tiff, you got to get, the thing is, at some point, we have to get off of our agenda in the moment and get in their world in order to work our agenda. Like when you hear me talk about making that list. Now I got to get in your world. I got to infiltrate your world. Some of the things that your kid likes, enjoys to do, talk about. You got to get in there, play with them, hang with them. Like, not from a space of being a friend, but from a space of understanding like things you like are valuable too. It's not just about what mommy wants or what mommy likes or how mommy feels like the things should be or how dad feels like. It's about me getting to know you as you develop into your own unique little person. That's the empowering part. The other part of it is like Frank was describing, teaching them to work their mind, have, like Christine was saying, certain choices that they get to make. And things are set up this way because I chose them. She gave me an option. Frank explained it earlier, giving them their own rules for their self. When you're not around me, what are some things you will and won't tolerate? This is stuff that's important. The other part of it is, and I've said this before on my lives, the book talks about it, obstacles as opportunities. We get rid of those obstacles, but we can change how we can't get rid of obstacles, but we can change how we relate to them. Positive parenting asks us to see obstacles as opportunities that can help us reach those goals rather than obstacles that thwart them. So the idea is, if you view conflict and new obstacles as a space to get to know each other, it's an opportunity, a new opportunity for us to get closer, for us to work our 1-2 together. You'll start to view, conflict and, your child breaking a rule or here or there as different. You will approach it different. Do y'all understand when the book described that part? Because then it goes on to talk about the key qualities of this type of parenting. So let me ask y'all this, right? And just give me, Christine, you was going to say something?
So go ahead.
I want to hear from everybody. Tell me, as I name these, What are you working on? If you're working on one of these things I named, say, I'm working on that. So it first talks about awareness and acknowledgement. Who's working on that? Awareness and acknowledgement.
I've definitely been working on the acknowledgement part with my kids. Just like you were saying, not emphasizing so much the negativity, but when they're doing something well, or things I've been trying to implement with my daughter, things to get her like that I had wanted her to do. I've noticed she's been picking up on a lot of the things. So I'm always trying to acknowledge her when I'm noticing.
I love it. Who else?
Continue.
Awareness and acknowledgement. Who else?
Me, really. I'm working on that too.
It says you can't change or respond to what you aren't aware of or don't acknowledge. This includes acknowledging what is true or challenging for you in the moment, and also what is true and challenging for your child. But one of the first things a positive parent should do is asking, like, what's really going on here? Acknowledging what you see, but also acknowledging your child, being aware of and making them aware of what's happening. Who else? Who's working on that?
Yeah, I have, Dorsey. Like, my son, when he started to become a teenager, he started to come into himself a lot more. So I would ask him to do something, and he would snap. And I'm like, okay, something ain't right. This ain't because he's trying to be disrespectful. Something's off with his emotions. Mm-hmm. So I just sat up there and I asked him, I was like, what's going on with you? And he just broke down crying. And then that's when he started saying what he was feeling, what he was going through. Mm-hmm. How he feel like he's not a kid. He got to handle all the adult stuff. It was just a lot. He just got to
That's the awareness. That's you becoming aware of what's happening rather than trying to call it some shit based on your perception. And Christine, I'm going to tell you something. That skill is so valuable because when you become an adult and you get in a relationship, you have to be able to do that. Some of us have dated men or women and we see them acting a certain way and we immediately take it like, he trying to be disrespectful to me. He trying to cheat on me. This is what you call disrespect. This is what you call. And the person really, like Christine explained with her son, is going through their own shit. And you don't care to be aware. All you care to do is be a victim of whatever is happening. It's a skill that's necessary to operate in social circles. It's so important.
I went through that as a kid. Dorsey, my mom didn't know me at all. Like, we were all, like, in her mind, if y'all all gonna lie, I'm gonna whoop everybody and get the right one. And I'm like, you don't know me well enough to know? I don't even maneuver that way. So it bothered me as a kid that my mom wasn't, number one, aware enough or knew me enough to know my behavior patterns or my characteristics. Like, you ain't even know I like sweets or not. Like, how you not know that? So as a mom, I always pride myself on being aware of my kids' behavior changes and just making sure I have those conversations versus assuming that they're all the same.
Right. Who else is working on this? Awareness and acknowledgement.
I've been working on that for forever. It's a little bit tougher. Well, I'm gonna say it's a little bit challenging for me because I've changed my parenting style, and I have to get my son used to new dad, not old dad, because the old dad was not fulfilling and not really. I was encouraging, but the way I was parenting him was overpowering everything else that I was trying to teach him.
Like Adrian said, that order and control. I feel like a good dad when I'm controlling and keeping my kids in line. I feel like a good mom when I'm keeping shit in line. Right? You look at me, my kids gonna listen. They gonna do what I tell them to do. And then they're lacking every bit of the social skills and the mental effort to use their own brain, their own discernment. Like you're setting them up for failure in the world.
Yeah, so now my son actually he uses it. Sometimes he don't. And when I really was making him do, he didn't have no other choice because I wasn't telling him shit. I told him like once I let him know this, like, hey, I'm not telling you anything to do. Whatever you feel you need to do, you do it, and you do something wrong, we're gonna talk about it. And I'm gonna see if you thought about this. So I want you to use your mind before you act, before you move, before you get up, before you talk. Use your head. That went on for 24 hours, and he told me, he was like, Dad, I'm tired. I was like, you haven't really been doing nothing. He was like, no, I'm tired of thinking. I'm sleepy. I said, well, that's going to happen sometimes. You haven't used that muscle a lot, but you can get used to doing it and it won't have you that tired. But that's how a lot of kids
do y'all, I love what Frank just shared. Do y'all understand that we're in a time where people don't want to work their mind? from kids on up to adults. They don't want to think. They want you to just tell them the answers. But it comes from being parented from an unaware space. Like the parent is not mentally and emotionally present. They are authoritative and authoritarian in regards to control and order. But just being present to teach me the value and using my own brain and working. Everybody looking for an easy route. Everybody want to get rich without the work. Everybody want to go to heaven without dying. Everybody want to be owned without any sacrifice. Everybody want to look the aesthetics without going through the pain. Everybody want a six-pack, a motherfucking cut, rip arms and abs without the fucking gym work. Everybody want instant gratification. That's what the internet has presented into our lives. Instant gratification. So a lot of people, whatever is not instant for them, if it's not gratifying instantly, they don't want to do it. They don't want to do it. And it is difficult to navigate this world like that because things don't come instantly like that. They don't. That's why people want to skip school and just be rich. You know how many young people, because I do real charity events in my community. I'm out in the trenches with the kids that come from the hood and poverty like I came from. And I'm asking, what you want to be when you grow up? I'm going to be rich. How you going to get rich? I'm going to just be rich. I'm going to get me one of them cars like you, Miss Love. I'm going to get, what you want to do though? What you want to be? I'm going to be a famous rapper. I'm going to be just naming things that like, they don't have any idea for the middle space. And this ain't no babies I'm talking about. These is like 8th graders, 9th graders, 10th and 11th grade. I'm gonna get me a Hellcat. I'm gonna get me a demon, like Kodak talk about in his songs. I'm gonna get me one with no reality of like the work and the effort that it takes, the why behind it. But when you watching the internet, it looks like you could just get that. It looks like that, and we make it look like that. Most people are posting the best parts of their life. And it gives this false reality. And if you don't give your kids the real reality and teach them how to value themselves, even before looking at this type of stuff, it will like work its 1-2 backwards on you. To the point where you parenting to a 35-year-old and you 55, 60. Empathy is the next one. Who else is working on empathy? Empathy. It says we all have our own expectations, but our children need us to do our best to see things from their perspectives. Yes, it's true. And it says it's also true that class was really hard and she was struggling with it. Like it gave an example of like, you know, the stuff that kids go through in regards to school or their own little world. It might not be something big to you. You got adult shit that you feel like is more of a pressing thing than what they're going through. But it doesn't change. They have their own perspective. Who's working on empathy?
Me.
Working
on it with my adult children. It's different. Like when they was kids, I understood. But now that they're adults, they have their own, you know, experiences, and they have people that's in their life, and they didn't with. I have to be a little, because I'm still holding on to what I taught them only. Like they ain't learned nothing new. So I have to try to shut up, listen to understand, not to respond. So with my adult children, it's different now because they're in their 30s. So they are maturing now. They are seeing, okay, if I do this is going to happen, you know. So they kind of seeing how life really go and why mama taught them, you know, how life really go. Now they calling me saying, Mama, now we know why you said that. I'm like, I thought y'all understood that then. So when you start saying that, I'm like, I must have been really, you know, raising them authoritatively, but by them hearing it, but I didn't teach them how to necessarily apply it. So now I got to deal with them as adults, being able to acknowledge that and being empathetic in that. And you know what I'm saying? Just like really listening to them now as adults.
Right. Like,
and I didn't do it when they were kids.
Right. And I'm going to tell y'all something. This is so important because, you know, the long run lesson is that as your child, like somebody commented, you know, my daughter lost her line leader job and she was sad. It is important to empathize with them. Like, yes, her losing her line leader job is not as big of a pressing issue to you as having the money for the light bill or the rent or your relationship issues. But in her little world, that is like the light bill being due or the fucking relationship issues. It's a big deal to her. You got to be able to pivot to call yourself a real parent, because the idea is you using your adult situations to try to teach me what to care about is not going to work. The working strategy is to teach me how to navigate my pressing issues as a child. And a lot of us didn't get that. When we brought up our little stuff, your mama asked you, what's wrong with you? And you tell her, oh man, my such and such broke. And your mom, I ain't got time to be listening to that shit. Girl, I'm trying to feed you and your brother. And you around here, They made it about them every time. So really, I developed no skills growing up on how to navigate and manage myself emotionally through when things in my world crashed, crumbled, or fucked up. All I knew was the stuff in my world didn't matter that much because my mama said they didn't matter compared to what she had going on. You're not teaching them. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, you naming off your problems, but it don't hit like they problems. It's the same when we out in the world as adults. I can sit and cry my problems out to y'all, but at the end of this, my problems don't hit for you how your problems hit for you. And it's the same when you're raising children. You have to teach them to take in their little world what matters to them and teach them how to manage themselves through it. And as they grow up, when their problems become the same sort of issues that you face, they will have the skills to navigate through them. Empathy, it helps with you teaching them.
It's real critical, and I know it's talking to my son and whenever he feeling down about some things or he really beating himself up by a grade or people said something to him, it's my job to really help him get those feelings out, but go over those feelings with him and explain those feelings with him and tell him like, man, it's gonna happen again.
Yeah, and it's probably for the corniest shit, Frank. It's probably like from a grown man looking at him, this is probably the most corniest, lamest shit. A lot of us be want to tell our kid, why is you mad about that? But you have to validate and empower them. Like if it's a big deal to them, you got to get in that space. This is what real empathy and pivoting to change perspectives. Get in that space and talk to them. Their feelings matter. The stuff that they going through, it matters. And when the thing is, a lot of us as adults, we wish we had that. We wish somebody would listen to us and be empathetic about what we're going through, but we don't practice it with our own children.
Say that shit again. Say that shit again, goddammit. I ain't bullshit.
Make your feelings better.
I'm the first nigga to say that shit.
Yeah, but we in relationship.
That shit is something.
That
shit is something serious because kids don't know. Some men don't know, and there's a lot of women don't know.
Yep.
But as a grown up being in a relationship, women don't know when men want to talk. That's really a hard.
Listen, I was just finna say we be in relationships and we don't know how to do this. But Frank, I'm gonna tell you something. Which one of us was taught growing up? We wasn't taught this because our parents was skipping over us. So now, like you say, the same from me to my son. I'm in a relationship with you. You want to talk as a man about some stuff that I really feel like is like some small bullshit, right? So the same way I was doing with my son or my mama did me, I'm doing in a relationship with you. You want to talk about this stuff. I'm listening to you say it. Then I'm bringing, well, we got bigger problems. And well, what about this? And it's going on with this. And that's going, I can't pivot and see the shit from your perspective. And this is one of the main reasons why people have poor communication in relationships. Yep. And the first thing a nigga say is, man, I can't talk to you. Damn, I can't talk to you.
Yep. And that shit really becomes hard because once we get into that battle mode, it shouldn't even be a battle mode when we're having a conversation. Mm-hmm. When I talk, I don't talk to be right. I talk to show my perspective. Mm-hmm. I talk to tell you how I look at things. I can tell you what shit is going from what I see, and then you can give me the same shit back. I'm open for that. Now, after we get those two things out the way, so now I see how you look at things. I see how I look at things. Okay, with these two things right here, what can we do to better our situation and better our child's situation?
I can't do that. If I don't have empathy, I can't do that. If I don't got empathy, I can't do that.
Being that one party don't possess that shit, it automatically, because I can easily say something wrong to contradict your thoughts because I went first. So even if I let you go first and I go second, I'm going to contradict what you're saying. So it's now when you say something and then I say something, it's like because I'm your man, my tone, how I'm looking at you, it's like I'm saying I'm right. It never said those words.
But anything, the problem is, Frank, when you don't understand empathy and we are talking to exchange perspectives, anything can be taken as disrespect. Anything can be taken as offensive. Anything can put me on the defense when I'm in the conversation for the wrong reasons. This is when the start of our dialogue is bad. So anything we talk about gonna go bad. And a lot of us don't understand this. This is the same when you're talking to your children, when we're talking about parenting. If I'm going in this with the wrong intentions, meaning I lack empathy, I lack the understanding for the value in exchanging perspectives. I'm going in it with the intent to listen until you make me feel like I'm disrespected, or you make me feel like, you going against my thoughts, or you make me feel like, you know what I mean? You're not seeing it from my view, because I feel like I need order and control. Everything gonna fall by the wayside in regards to what we talk about. Who else is working on empathy?
Well, I was gonna say I'm trying to empathize with my son. He's in jail. He's 20, about to be 21, and sometimes he says stuff to me that I'm just like, oh my god, like the police are a gang too. And I understand where he's coming from, and it's just other stuff. It's just him being raised without his dad. Now his dad's out of prison, and he's been out 2-3 years, and he gets in his feelings because his daddy, I don't know. So I just try to listen to my son and try to I try to look at his perspective.
Even Brittany, even as you're saying it, you sound dismissive. Like you gotta get, but this is the first things first, right? Before you could take any advice from me or Frank or anybody, you gotta get in there and get to know that boy from his perspective. And this is the same for relationships. Like when we talk about women and like men, you got to get in there and get to know your woman or your man. So first things first, I need to get to know the mindset of my son current day. I can't parent him. I can't penetrate. I can't have influence over if I have no understanding for his perspective. So you might have to sit there and listen to some dumb shit, ask some questions about some shit with the police being a gang and his way of thinking. You got to get in there, because then you can penetrate and you can be an influence from a space that matches how he thinks. A lot of us with these teenagers, we don't know how to do this. And we didn't start early on, so we're on the outside.
Yeah, I don't.
We're on the out fucking side. We're not on the inside to influence them. That's why a lot of us have the attitude, oh, they don't listen. Oh, these kids, they just don't listen, child. You tell them stuff and they won't listen. You got to get in there. All of their mindsets be different. Their own little worlds. You have to get an understanding. I've been in the trenches with my children on this for so long. I know the way that they think. If you tell me 3 different things was done, I can tell you which one did what and why. I can be them. I can pretend to be them and explain it how they would explain it. But this just didn't come because I'm Love Dorsey and I'm smart. It came because I had to get in the ugly moments asking about stuff that I really don't want to hear. I don't want to hear it. Yeah. But I got to if I want to always have influence over them, not control them, not keep order. But I want to be able to influence some of their decision making. I'm going to tell you why influence is so important. Because guess what? The internet will do it if you don't do it. If you don't influence your children, somebody on one of these motherfucking apps are going to influence your child. Somebody on that video game is going to influence your kid. Somebody else is going to program their beliefs and the shit that you want for them. They will program them in a direction that you won't even understand. Go ahead, Christine. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, I remember my boy's dad called me and was like, your son getting smart. I'm like, that's about him. He don't never get smart with me, but I know based off who he is, he has the potential, depending on where you're coming from and how you're coming at him. He will come off disrespectful and being smart mouth. And I'm like, oh yeah, he probably did. I said, but you have to start to understand him. I said, you're probably talking at him, trying to control him, because of course I've been with her dad, so I know he's controlling. So I pride myself on making sure I get to know them, because I know what they're up against, because me as their mama didn't pick the perfect person, but I know who I picked, so I can support my kids and, like you said, influencing them on making the proper decisions, or how to communicate, or how to understand what's happening at their dad's home without me being there. I don't have to be there to tell my kids what to do, because I've already prepared them for that. So he was like, "You gonna let him talk to me any kind of way?" I said, "I can't. You gotta do that. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's between you and him."
Yeah, listen, this is a very strong subject. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. To do it, it can get aggravating. It could be boring, because half the shit that kids be worried about as adults, we don't be worried about it. But to call yourself a real parent, it is necessary. It's necessary. And it's the only way to keep a real bond with them as they grow older. Is to stay in communication and have an understanding for their mindset as it evolves, as it grows. Like, this is good parenting. This is loving parenting. The awareness, the acknowledgement, the empathy. Now, what about sensitivity? Because it says connected to empathy and awareness. Sensitivity is about attuning to what's really going on for them. And that's what we're really talking about, piecing all this together. It says, even if your automatic reaction to your child saying she doesn't like her classmates is, of course you do, your best friends, she needs to be sensitive to what she's feeling at that time. That's exactly what we expressing. Brittany, when you talk to your son and he brings up his view on the police being a gang, you have to be sensitive to that being something that it matters conversation wise to him. And it doesn't have to be the solid truth, but it's his truth. You ain't in the car with him riding around. You're not a black man. For one, you're not that.
I get where he's coming from. He just, I guess.
You sound, no, I'm telling you, Brittany, you sound dismissive of it. But what I'm telling you is, I'm acknowledging to you, it is some boring shit at times. It is aggravating, because as the parent, I don't want to talk about this shit. I just want to talk about you doing right. I don't want to talk about your fucking views about you and the cops and the ops and the this and the that. I'd rather just talk about what I want you to do to get yourself out of the situation that you in. But unfortunately, it does not work like that on human beings with their own brain. If you was raising a dog or a cat, maybe so. But you're raising a person. It don't work like that. You got to give to get. You got to get in there to bring them out.
When it comes to raising little boys, I can think like way back when. The hardest thing it is that we try to get from our parents is the thing that we can't see. So when it comes to a sensitive subject, and I'm a little boy, let's just say I'm